first part, and then the second part is Base Camp and Leadership Summit. And it's a two-part conference. And basically, when you go there, it talks to you about several things, but one of the things they talk to you about is norms and protocols. And, you know, when you go to those meetings, they throw a lot of stuff at you. And then you try to figure out which part of it is relevant to you and which part you can use. And, of course, everything that they talk about, some of it applies, some of it doesn't. So, and as I was sitting there thinking, and we had like a 2-hour drive home, and as I'm driving to the second one and back from the second one, they start talking about time and doing things more efficiently and effectively. And when you have meetings, when you set norms for those things and you stay on that, then you do the meeting, you go straight by your norms, and then you're able to get out of the meeting. It makes it more effective. And I got to thinking about that thing, and along with some of the others that was at the GLSEN conference, and I was thinking, with us, I know that we have things that we imply. You know, we go to a meeting and we do our agenda and we imply things, and then sometimes the meeting will go a little bit longer than maybe it should, because maybe somebody has something personal they want to say, but it's not in place that maybe we should hold that after everybody leaves. So in doing that, I started thinking about some of the things that we do and how the things that we need to establish norms for, and in that way we have a guideline of how meetings should run, and then once we follow the norms, these guidelines, then we can make these things run a lot smoother and more efficiently. And that was just one example. And then everything that we say and the purpose of the meeting is done, and we can get out of there. And it's also, you know, norms are just a guideline. It's just a procedure that everybody follows, so we can make these things more efficiently. Now, some of the things on the list, you won't be able to establish norms. It's just going to be reminders so that we're all on the same page. And we're not going to go into order. The first one we're going to do is faculty meetings, because we are now at a faculty meeting. So some of the folks that went to GLSEN, I had them lead the discussion on this, but we'll come to the norms as a faculty. And we're not talking about a big, long list of things. You know, maybe about 10 things that when we have a meeting that we all understand that, you know, this is the way this meeting is going to run. So we're going to bring up Dr. Cooper, and she'll lead us through developing norms for a faculty meeting. And what I would like to do is for us to list them, because at the end of this, I'm going to have them typed up and put them in kind of booklet form. I'm not going to put them in the handbook. I'm just going to put them in a booklet form. So if I hire a new teacher, or if we have substitutes, things like that, and they can see how we have a separate book of how we do things. Okay? All right, Doc.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay, now we have norms already, but what I want you to think about is the things that are important to you, okay, as a faculty, your commitment to the faculty. And a norm is just that thing that you establish as a team to show your commitment. Okay, and one thing they always said to us in GLSEN was, we confront the things that we value. So here I'm asking you to think about what you value as a faculty when you bring it to the faculty meeting, that it is ran smoothly. So at this time, I want you to take about maybe a minute and think about those things that you value. And I'm going to ask you to, like the tables, have one person to come up and put that thing that you value, and that would be the beginning of us establishing those norms. Okay, and from Amy over, you will be a team. From Marlo to Stacy, you will be a team. And from Tamika to Ms. Carol, you're a team. And the people that, yes.
That's the first thing. That's the first thing to talk about.
According to Glissy,
Texting, grading papers, we will stay on task, maintain focus, no PLC type stuff with faculty meeting time, breakout sessions or curriculum items. That's the example. Stay on point during the meetings, aware of time. There's another time, I said that time is very important. We will pay attention and participate. We will start on time and stay positive. Okay, those are great. Those are great. A group with efficient and time. Okay, time. So our first group is Dr. Gray.
and that's the whole purpose of norms, is to be efficient with time. So when we do a list, and norms is just like you say, start on time, end on time. No texting, no cell phone usage. When someone is talking, be respectful of that person talking. And then y'all hitting on some of this. Now I must say, this don't qualify right here, because it's not you can't say don't do a breakout session of curriculum items, because faculty meetings are always based on whatever the situation is and whatever we need to accomplish. So the biggest thing is like, stay on point, aware of time. Basically, the norm to be start on time, end on time.
Dr. Wright.
Ma'am?
With the PLC, that was our group, and the reason we said that is because in the afternoons, there are so few people sometimes in our meetings, like we have people doing duty, they're coaching, and that was our concern.
Okay,
That,
okay.
that, you know, that we've got too many people not being there.
Okay, and that'll fall in a different category. I'm not saying we won't talk about it,
Okay.
but when you fall in norms, it don't. But that's a good point, and that's another discussion that we need to have, okay? So don't think I was dismissing it,
Okay.
but it just doesn't fit in the norm. And that's another discussion that we can have about breakout session and curriculum items. All right, so can we come up with a list?
Okay. What is your ideal time for starting and ending a faculty meeting? Be realistic.
Well, there's not normally an ending time in a faculty meeting, but we do need to come up with a good start time. And then hopefully through following our norms, when we hit whatever's on the agenda, then we can get out of there.
And like,
But I can't say from 3:45 to 5 o'clock or something like that, which I should have said that. 3:45 to 4 o'clock, so it won't be a start ending time, but we can establish a start time that takes into consideration people that's on duty, people that's that for whatever reason. So we can establish a start time for faculty. So what would y'all like to establish a start time?
no, when I was saying time, like afternoon.
No, you can't.
It depends on what,
Depends on how efficient you are with that time.
exactly.
All that stuff ties in together. The being respectful, the staying on topic. I'm gonna tell you where the texting and grading papers comes in is when everybody has to give a testimonial or you know, they have to tell how they do it, or how they have to give a complaint or something like that. That's when people start, you know, bobbing and weaving and doing all that kind of stuff.
Well, and you can get off topic, and that thing could last ever, so stay on task, or stay on topic. And, no cell phones. Slash texting. And then what, no grading papers, or, which we kind of established that 7 years ago. No grading papers. What else?
Yeah, a lot of positive.
Oh, yeah. Not necessarily, well, positive comments,
Positive and constructive. What about?
yeah, positive and constructive. Meaning that you may have a comment that everybody may not agree with. But we have to be respectful for everybody's opinion and everybody's comment. And just because it maybe doesn't fit or fit how I want it to go, you know, we want people to feel respected when they do voice their opinion. Anything else? What is it? Okay. Pay attention and participate when necessary. Don't pay attention. All right, anything else as far as our faculty?
Personal grievances need to be handled on personal time. Just because you don't like little Johnny, I might like him. Does that tie in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what do we, no,
Let's stay on top of
well,
it.
let's stay on topic. Be respectful. Be respectful of others. Anything else? All right. Those are our norms for faculty. And since this is a faculty meeting, this goes into effect immediately.
That's a great idea.
Thank you. All right, now, let me say this. When we discuss another meeting, if these apply and this is good, then for the sake of time, you can say these and maybe add one or two more, or these are good, or, you know, so we're not being redundant. All right, advisory team meetings.
Thank you all.
Thank you, John.
Okay, for the advisory team meeting,
Oh, excuse me. One thing we left off, if you miss the faculty meeting, you have to make it up. So add that. Because we already do that anyway. And you know, you're sent, we videotape them, and then we send you the link to the video, and then we have to make it up. Within how long? Those of you that have to, most of you guys, when it's mostly coaching or something, what's the suspense? How much time do you need to make up a faculty meeting? So you gotta put a suspense on it. So we have a faculty meeting on Tuesday, and I'm coaching, or I'm on a trip, or something comes up and I have to miss it.
Can you give us a week?
But we'll have another one before you make up.
Well, you be 2 weeks.
2 weeks, why, and I'm just going, why do we need 2 weeks?
No, I'm saying before the next meeting is in.
Before the
So,
next
before the next.
Okay.
For the next schedule back.
Before the next scheduled faculty meeting, okay.
I think 1 week.
Now, everybody know the procedure of making up a faculty meeting. You'll be sent the video link. Attached to that link is the form. You just watch the video, fill out the form, send it to Ms. Gilbert. That's simple. Okay? I know we all
There's
professionals, we won't
there's
fill
a
that form out
notebook
without
in the
looking
back
at the video.
of Ms. Gilbert's room right there on the shelf.
Say again?
There's a notebook and it says faculty meetings.
Right.
And even if you don't want to print the form out and then have to email it to Aldra, just go in there, pull your slip out, fill it out, and just stick it in there and we'll buy
Right
it.
in the notebook.
Just
So
lay
that's-
it back there.
That's all. Okay, I'm sorry.
Go right ahead. All right, I have advisory team. With advisory team, it's made up of the administrators and then the department heads. And then we have like counselors, media specialists there as well, instructional facilitator. We always start, we have our agenda is emailed out to us, and we, as department heads, are supposed to come to the our departments, find out if you have any updates or concerns for us to share at the meeting. And then we get in here, and that's the first thing that we do on the agenda is discuss those updates and concerns from our departments. Dr. Gray gives each of us a chance to go through and do that. And then we, in the middle, after that, we kind of assist in the development of like school-wide plans for improvement. We conduct department research to relay those practices that are effective, back to our departments. And we kind of just certain things that we have to discuss that's on the agenda. And when we end, we always end with administrative remarks. And then after the meeting, we as department heads are supposed to go back to our departments and relay that information back to our departments. I don't, we need to always make sure that's happening, but I'm not gonna say too much because I want to give y'all a chance to do that. So just kind of think about how it, when your department head comes back, kind of think about, do they relay information? How do they relay it? Just kind of think about that. And we have department heads throughout here, people that are on advisory, so you might can help kind of lead that discussion within your little groups as we think about it. So y'all think, we'll start writing.
Is there anything on, for advisory team, especially the ones that's actually in the meetings, is there anything on here that we can use for advisory team meetings as far as the norm?
Number 2, number 5, 7,
These all the-
And what is it, always in the red,
That's right. And we also videotape advisory team meetings as well. And we send that link out for if you just want to see exactly what's said and be a part of, see how the advisory team meeting is conducted, then that's why we decided this year to just send the link out as well.
Now, I have not been sending that link out, but I will.
But we'll
But they are
start
on,
back
they're on the YouTube channel.
Right.
I just haven't been sending.
That's right, they're on the channel.
That's right.
Okay, and then we'll just send it. Is it that difficult to send the link out?
Oh, no.
Okay, well, we'll send the link out.
put advisory team 1 through 7, and then we can
I didn't know what this is.
So is there, well, especially, I guess, advisory teams, that's current, is 1 through 7 good? Or no, y'all, that's current?
All right, so we're gonna say 1 through 7, and then what are we gonna add?
All right. Then 8 was
department head can't
Can't,
be there.
will be absent.
Ryan is pretty. Okay.
All right, anything else? Just put the link will be sent out to everyone. Link of the meeting will be sent to everyone.
How about if that link's being sent out and then maybe somebody wants to respond to something that's on that link? What's the protocol for that? They just go and send that back to the department head?
So the department chairs
We're your voice.
are meeting, should be meeting with the department to discuss the stuff that was said in the
So
advisory.
the link goes out and then?
No,
Or does it?
you always should have been meeting, you keep
Right,
that the
we
same.
do that.
We just sending the link so that if somebody just wants to see what happened in the advisory team, they can look at it. That's what that is, but you continue the same thing that you were doing, is meeting with, your department in case, and letting them know in case there's some discussion, or there needs to be some discussion.
And maybe if you went and watched the link and if you saw something else, then you let the department head know, and then the next one you would address.
We put that, department meeting after,
Yeah, that
or
is.
advisory team members meet with their department after advisory team members. Which is what we should be doing. Ma'am, sir, ma'am?
I know they bring the concerns of the department to the advisory team. Wouldn't that be the place where if you decided whether it need to be a faculty team at the advisory team level?
Yeah, a lot of.
When they bring the concerns?
Mhm,
I
some of
felt
those
that needs to
decisions,
get out of
yeah,
there.
some of those decisions are made. But yeah, that's,
That could save time in the faculty meeting if you already knew ahead of time.
that's it. Now, help me understand what you're saying, Ms. Moore.
What I'm saying is if someone had a concern, rather than just bringing up the faculty meeting, talk about the time that, like the coach was talking about, just bringing up something that didn't want on topic, that go through your department chair.
Exactly.
To let it be expressed in the advisory team, and then if y'all deem that it's necessary to bring to the whole faculty, that would be the time thing, that way it could be planned into
Exactly.
the time.
Exactly. And a lot of times, and you're right, a lot of times, that's where a lot of, in the advisory team meeting, when we say concerns, it's not necessarily, it may not necessarily be an academic concern. It may be a concern about something that's going on that fits that department. It could be anything from, we got a concern that the kids are not doing whatever, or there's anything, too much, anything. That's where concerns come in. So you're right. So if we express the concern in that meeting, and then, like we said, in the faculty meeting, stand on task if you have another concern, then we can talk about that after the meeting. Then that way, everybody can go on about their business, what they need to get done. Anything else on the advisory team?
And we need to make sure when we go back to, I know it's in right here, positive, we need to make sure when we go back and meet with that department, we keep it positive. When we're relaying information.
Try to.
Try to stay.
Yes. All right, anything else on that?
We talk about how we rotate the membership, or is it just, I know you mentioned
Oh, yeah,
department
yeah.
chair, or is it going to be a different kind of leadership?
Yeah, that's a good one. We rotate department chairs every 2 years, I believe. And let me tell you why we put that in place. Because, and I explained this a while ago, but I'll say it again. with all the leadership opportunities, or, you know, you may one day want to take a leadership role. You may have an aspirations of being an assistant principal or department chair or some type of leadership role. When you go and apply for a job or things like that, then as being a department chair, we want to give everybody an opportunity that would like to experience that leadership role, an opportunity to experience that leadership role. That's why we rotate it out. And this is how it works. If I have one, if it comes around and it's time for the Ways and Means Department to change their department chair, we'll send it out. If one person says, well, I'd like to try more than one person in that department, basically, if it's two people, then basically what we do is we just draw names. If I have nobody that wants to step up to the department chair, and everybody wants to keep the same department chair, then we let them keep the same department chair, okay? But if you want to be, when that rotation comes up and you like to be in that leadership position, then what we have to do as a department is we have to respect that person's right to be in that leadership position. And people shouldn't feel like if I step up and I won't be department chair, everybody's going to be mad at me. You know, this is a professional environment, and everybody should have the opportunity, if they would like, to experience a leadership position. And you know, that's all I'm going to say about that. So when the rotation comes around, if you have an interest in that, you know, normally in the past, I just send out an email and I say to that department, and I'll say, the Ways and Means Committee department chair position is up for rotation. Like I said, if I get one, and I'll give it a couple of days, and if I get one person to say I would like to do it, and I only get one person, then we rotate that one person in. If I get more than one, then basically we draw. And that's how that's done. Okay? And if I get nobody, then I give them the option of keeping the same person. All right? So that's how that is. All right, anything else? All right, thank you, PLC.
Yeah, Jules got it right. Okay. All right, when we were at Lacey, Dr. Drummond and I got to meet with the county curriculum people for all the different schools instead of just the teachers. And so we got to work with him to see like what they were doing in their school and to see what was working, what was not working, what kinks they had to work out, and so forth. So as we sat down and got to talking to the other people, I realized a lot of things. For starters, I realized that we are very rare because most other counties have PLC twice a week. And then every second and fourth week, they do it 3 times a week. Whereas we only do it once a week. The other thing that they inform me of is that PLCs does not consist of like analyzing data. They don't take PLC time to analyze data. All of your data is analyzed outside of PLC on your own time, and then you bring it in. The other stuff that they talked about was teaks and leaks. All of the teaks and leaks stuff, like a lot of times when we go in there, Aldra has us doing teaks and leaks stuff. We have representatives and presenters to come. That's also not done during PLC time. That's either an extra faculty meeting or the videos are sent out and you have to document that you have watched it on your own time. So with that being said, PLC things, the things that they stressed to us that PLC was for, is the first thing is that we all have a shared vision of school improvement and student achievement. Then after we have our vision, we take everything that we're doing in the room, we look at what we're doing, we look at what's working and what's not working. We share ideas from people of what's working, what's not working. We look at student work, we break down the data, we download our samples, we do collaborative planning with our teachers, we introduce new ideas. We have Ms. Tatum come to us, she teaches us all the new technology. We have a DOE speaker come and talk to us about depth of knowledge or different things that can be done. We work through the standards, we talk about what parts of the standards are in our units, we create stuff that's not in our units that needs to be replaced, and then we talk about the curriculum being rigorous. So, and then the last thing is we always make sure that we meet the needs of all the students. So, with that being said, I will say I'm one of the ones like everybody else in here that complains because the last thing I want to do on Tuesday is have to go to a PLC because I get tired of going. But with that being said, I think we are fortunate after talking to like 12 other school systems to see that we don't have to do it as much as everybody else does. But anyway, what we're going to look at is when we go to PLC in the room over there, what are some norms that you guys would like to see or expect or see put into place when we go in there for PLC? So, I guess all of these you guys want to keep, I guess. I mean, this is you all see, so, what do y'all think we need to add or take away, or?
Well, with the first one, I think that the one time a week is great because I talk to people too, and I was totally shocked. We are ahead of the game. We are, everything that you just described, we already do that in PLC. I think our PLC is doing a tremendous job because we don't have to do a lot of things outside of here because it's done in PLC. Of course, just still being a teacher, that day just comes around and we don't want to do it sometimes, but I'm glad that we do have a chance to do it and we don't have to take our time to do it. So I think that once a week thing needs to stay.
Yeah, but that's not really, that's
a norm. On Tuesday, we know we want to be here.
But when you get into the weeds.
Yeah, what do you want to see happen? Like, are we doing things now? Because see, when I got to talk to them, I realized, gosh, we do. I mean, even though we do a lot, and we feel, because I will say, when I go in there, sometimes I feel like, man, I'm doing this and this and this and this, and I got all this stuff going on. But then when I talked to the other schools, they were like, oh, no, ma'am. We meet PLC. It's Monday, every Monday and Friday. It doesn't matter if there's a ball game that night or what. And then every second and fourth week is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then you have a teacher lead day a week. And every time you are observed, whether it's a formative assessment or a walkthrough, you have to meet. I mean, it's just, I think we're fortunate to get to do all of the stuff in PLC is what I'm saying, because we would lose a lot more time if we did. But when we walk into the room, what are some things that, I see some eye rolling going on, but what's some stuff that you want to see when you go in
Well,
there?
what about a consistent starting time? Because, Adam and I get there real early. I get there real early. Because I just have a short walk. But then other people, so I think if we all said, we're going to potty or whatever, and then be there at a certain time, so we'd all be there at the same time, maybe we get a little bit of time.
Because then you end up waiting and then it runs over and then, yeah, okay.
Okay, when the tardy bell rings for your period, you should be 5 minutes after that.
Yeah. Okay.
So that gives you time to do your potty
And then gives you time to do your hall duty.
I need to clarify the first hour, because that was.
We have to walk through.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 minutes time, what is it, 5 minutes after the tardy.
5 minutes after tardy bell.
I need to clarify with the first hour, is it 5 minutes from the announcement period, or is it 5 minutes from the beginning of school? Because that one, when I was in that one was a little trickier. Because
5 minutes from the target bell. Target bell rings at 8:25. You guys don't have announcements, so that don't affect you. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So. the
But it's a
target
longer
bell-
period, so
Right.
sometimes they just got
But
confused.
the period doesn't start, till after the announcements anyway. So if you 5 minutes after the target bell, you still good.
I think the same thing, keep all these, something else that we follow off of that you need to add is the minutes. There's supposed to be a person, a recording of the minutes, there's supposed to be a person in each group that does the recording of the minutes. And when I file them, there's like usually only 1 or 2 departments that I have papers for. So if you don't have one in your PLC, you need to make sure you have a person that gets the yellow piece of paper and records the minutes and files them. Or sits them on the back and we'll file them. But you got, for stacks and all, we gotta have it recorded, what y'all discussed in your meeting.
You don't shoot that when you walk in.
Mm-hmm, it's back there, yeah, and Audrey usually has it up there on the table like a sign-in sheet. Mm-hmm, and if that person's not there, just get somebody to fill it.
Are there any ones that's already, up that can apply to PLC meetings?
Three, number 3 applies pretty well.
3 through.
2 through 7.
2 through 7. All right.
3 through 7.
Can we talk about it in time for PLCs? Because, I mean, when the bell rings, sometimes we're still sitting there and then that becomes an issue with being in the hall, but 5 minutes before the bell.
5 minutes before the bell. Yeah.
We need to be involved monitoring spots.
That's during the season.
I give up with you. Why not? It's terrible.
Okay, for parent night norms, of course, this is not necessarily during the school day, but a lot of the same school rules apply. We've all seen how a parent night runs, we know what we need to do. There's a lot of things that you're expected to do that may happen, may not always happen, but we just gotta formulate that. What I would ask you to do, take that 1 minute like Dr. Cooper did, and just whatever little groups that you were in on that first one, and come up with maybe other things besides what's in the 1 through 7 that you think are important, and then we'll have it coming right up here. Parent night.
We talking about the parent night program or just the parent night?
Just the norms of it. Like, for example, maybe, here's one I know will go, you put this up there. Make the announcement that parent night is over 5 minutes before parent night ends. Also, those of you that's parents, think about things when you go see another teacher that you may want to see a little different from a parent's perspective.
Even though there are like 5 people in the audience, I love that. So, I know, we don't do
This table, first table here. Anything in addition?
Not number 4, we can't do anything.
I mean, yeah, we're slow night and nobody's coming, you can't sit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Y'all be careful. Talk about your norms and be careful what you put up here, but this is what we're gonna follow.
I'll let y'all always look ready.
With like the past, you know, there's sometimes, you know, we all know that parent night sometimes is, you know, a little slow. And I'll sit there and grade papers, but I'm aware of, I see a parent coming, I put them away. You know, and that makes the time go by, plus I'm using my time efficiently. Yeah, so that's, I don't do cell phones or anything, but you know, that's, somebody might, but I think as long as you're efficient and, you know, and you watch for those parents and respectful of their time, you know.
Be ready for the parent.
Right, right. There's,
You do what you need to do until that parent.
yes.
Even if you are just.
Y'all listen.
5 minutes per parent limit. Because I'm going to figure something out with you. I have a hard time moving people along. I just can't find a way to do it.
Y'all teach, y'all got classes, you know, English and math. I see lines out y'all's doors, and I can only imagine y'all have the most involved parents too. I can only imagine how difficult that is.
And I do announce that before you guys leave, and before I dismiss the parents, I ask them to keep their meetings to 5 minutes. And if you need to go over that, please schedule a parent conference. And if you get a parent that's going over, just tell them, we got parents out the door. We would love to schedule a parent. And that's it. And of course, administration is moving around. If you have an issue, you can just wave to one of us, and then we'll come and assist you. But I do tell parents that it's 5 minutes, because like you said, I've got a long line. You can't be in there wanting to go the whole 9 weeks. You got a whole bunch of people who will never get out of here. So if we keep that 5 minutes, and then if you if a parent has an issue, just tell them to set up a parent.
A lot of times you got kids that are having problems in your class, and parents, they get overwhelmed and they walk out and they forget I don't know if it has it already, but like if I'm a parent and I'm having problems with jobs, we're about to have a sign-up table where they can talk about a possible day that they can meet, with a comprehensive meeting. And they, you can kill two birds with one stone, if that makes sense.
Well, I know on my sign-in sheet, that will put, they can check if they want to.
It's not for all the people, there's one, just like a schedule.
The only problem that before we schedule a parent conference, we always check and see if it's convenient for you guys. So if we have a parent that night, and for me, it's fine, but if we have a parent that night say, I want to come in here Tuesday, parent conference, the parent will give us that request, we always email you guys and give y'all the opportunity to tell us if that time is good.
But it's on.
And I'll do it either way, it doesn't matter.
It's on the sheet already though, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I said, if they check that, then I can just contact the front, and say, hey, so-and-so want a parent conference, just to see about setting it up.
And Susan will set it up. So if they do check that block, just call Ms. Smith, and she'll be happy to call the parents. Parent night, you requested a parent conference, when do you want to come, and when do you want to come, and then we'll follow the same procedure as far as communicating with you all as to when it's a good time. Would that help what you're saying?
Well, it's fine, man. There's other things like, most town parents, not the kids don't really need to see you.
Right, exactly.
95% of the time.
Exactly.
Anything from the wall group besides parent share?
They have to sign in, parents need to document it.
Document, sign in.
They sign in or check off sheet or whatever.
And y'all know that sign-in sheet is in the back of your teacher handbook, so you just run a copy of that, the sign-in sheet. Oh, yeah.
This table don't have anything?
That's a resource for you. If you've got a different sheet, all we need is just documentation that you're signing. Yeah, that's fine.
Comment from this small group is that, do we need to say, it's already established, but if we're writing, do we need to say it's mandatory? I mean, everybody has to be in attendance unless it's a school-approved function, but everybody needs to be here.
Yeah, we do have things in our book that is mandatory, and parent night is one of them. Now, people do come to me because things happen, and y'all have done a great job of checking in with me when things happen. Basically, what I tell you is departments do a good job of covering for one another, but what we cannot have is a whole bunch of people missing. That has not been an issue in my 7 years here. I can probably count on one hand how many times teachers been out for parent night. So that is already stated in the handbook. But one thing that I like to put up there is at the beginning of parent night, all teachers need to be in the cafeteria at the beginning of parent night. Everybody needs to be in the cafeteria.
So what time is that?
It starts at, well, remember we got two different start times. It's 10 minutes before parent night. Because I know we got two different start times depending on where
You recognize that people, there's one focal place that you're looking for. And all of the English department, and all the math department, or.
And that's up to y'all, it don't matter. That's up to y'all. That's up to y'all. Because I really don't, I just say everybody stand up, and then we recognize new teachers, but that's up to y'all. If y'all want to do that, that's fine. That is
This what he said, just 10 minutes before, whatever time it starts.
The first one's at 5, and the other 3 are at 5:30.
Are we gonna put that as one of our, that 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
10 minutes, 5.
Anything else?
I myself, I give parents product reports. Sometimes you got the student that comes in and they're like, I need to get my product report, my parents aren't here.
They get it the next day. Because we don't have, or our counselors are here, y'all here for parent night. Just, do we give out progress reports that night? They just give it the next day. But there's 6th period teachers here. Right. You're saying a student comes in and say they need their progress report at parent night. Are you their 6th period teacher? It's okay to give it to them.
With the parents, I'm on, if parents not got the short to you, I can't give it.
We make them wait the next day.
That's fine. Have it on the
It wasn't matter.
Yeah, we never really discussed it.
Yeah, not me, I've seen it happen. Nobody's gonna believe me. Well, that's the motivation.
What's the difference in giving it to a student the next day versus giving it to the student the day before? That child, like for example, if the guys who play football, when they get out of practice, if they come to me and want theirs, clearly their parent is not coming if it's 10 minutes till 7.
And let me ask you this.
I mean, I don't, but I would tell mine, you gotta wait till the next day,
Right.
but I'm still not sure that the parent ever sees it.
Now, let me ask you this. And I had to look at on the parent portal, when a parent pulls up the parent portal, I know on Infinite Campus, you can see progress report. And you can't see that on parent portal. You can see the grades.
You can.
You can see parent portal, you can see progress report on there. So what's the difference?
Teacher looks at all and sees it.
The ones that come to open house. I mean, it don't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. Now think about you guys the next day as far as time. How time consuming is it for, if you've given them to the students that showed up at parent night, if you've given them their progress report, does that help you in time in passing them out the next day?
It's not time, it's the, I can't believe this game isn't that great. It's more of that when you give them out.
We've seen it on Infinite Campus anyway, they know.
But they still like to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
It don't matter to me, whatever y'all. All right, hold on.
You go with the phone, listen, like on parents' night, non-parents, a lot of times, like aunts and uncles of that child. I deal with that on that night, because I look at it like, that child's trying to get to come into my class that night and give up his evening or whatever, I handle things. And they sign the paper, and I always put that, that's the way I look at it.
But what we have to be is consistent, because what you get is, well, I went to Mr. Fair and he gave me mine, why can't you give it to me? So whatever we decide, it has to be consistent. It don't matter to me. Ma'am?
But the thing is, it's supposed to be parent night. And if we get into the habit of we're gonna give them the progress report, then eventually, what's gonna be the use of actually having the parent night?
Okay.
Because we're just gonna be giving them the progress. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's to encourage the parents to come. So that's kind of why we need to wait, and I think, and give it to them the next day, because we're trying to encourage the parent to come. So if we just start giving it to the kids, eventually that's all we're gonna start having come, just the students.
Okay. So only give progress reports to parents or don't. Yeah. Only give them to all right, anything else?
I think that one thing that we, as a parent, I've never had this issue, but I always have at least one positive thing to say about something. As a parent, if the first thing you hear is something nice, then you're more apt to listen to the lazy and the didn't turn in.
That's a very good point.
Anything else?
All right, one thing we can, is along the lines of what Ms. Hilson was saying about confidentiality, one thing we cannot have, and I see this quite a bit, and we definitely have to change it. We cannot have students hanging out in our rooms when another parent come in and wants to do a parent conference.
I would run them out.
Okay? So we cannot have students hanging out in our rooms doing parent night. Y'all just move them on, and if they're done, they need to go home, okay? Because if a parent walks in, then you're taking up time having them, y'all leave before you can start your conference, okay? Now, of course, if it's your child, you just talk to your child and say when a parent comes, you step outside. I'm not talking about your child, I'm talking about just students, they come to parent night and just kind of walk around and want to hang out. Okay, anything else?
I'd say no other students or parents in the room. Or if you got a parent still kind of hanging out close by, within earshot of what you're telling that other parent.
You're back number 3, right?
Well, he just talking about a parent hanging out. Yeah, you can have,
Be very nice and say, well, nice to see you. Got another parent here. Be nice to us.
What about keeping conversations confidential? Like when they try to bring up, well, you gave Sally this and, you know, that kind of.
Norm, that's like confidentiality, legal thing.
I couldn't quite spell it. Yeah, the
Professional is, which is a gift.
collaborative planning. Now, when we're doing our collaborative planning, again, it's just how the meeting is to be conducted. You all decide what you're planning on. It's just that how the meeting is to be conducted and what are you going to do with the stuff that you all plan? What are you going to do with it?
All right, so you kind of told y'all what we got going on collaborative planning. We do it in our department. So whatever y'all want to kind of add, I mean, pretty much this is going to kind of go over with this as well. You know, your faculty meeting, your 2 through 7. I mean, that's any kind of meeting we have with each other. So it's something y'all think of, I guess, as a department. If you'd like to see added to our norms for our collaborative planning, that happens once a week.
Get your paperwork while you're sitting there. I mean, your collaborative plan sheet.
Your minutes?
Yeah, while you're there.
All right.
And
I was always, you know, I thought maybe always make sure discussions are curriculum or instruction based, you know, because that's what collaborative plan is about. You know, not there to talk about what's going on outside of school. Stay on task.
Anything else in collaborative planning?
You want to add the time? 4 or 5 minutes. Get 5 minutes to get there. 5 minutes before the bell rings.
You stop over there.
Yeah, at least if you get extended, you stop whenever you want.
I mean, like, sometimes it's been like from bell to bell, but like I've been called on that a couple times, but if we get done in 10 minutes,
That's right.
then
You done. But I'm saying if it gets extended, if y'all get extended, somebody look, say, hey, y'all got 5 minutes, and everybody understands that. It's got to cut.
Anything else?
Now, what do we do after we collaboratively plan? What do we do with that plan? Like if Coach Ingram and I are planning weight training collaboratively, then is the expectation for us to follow that plan? Is that the expectation? Is for us to follow that plan that we collaboratively planned? You're right. And I realize that you may be a day or two off, but it shouldn't be. That's not a meeting. That's horrible. That's no follow the. But not the. I'm not looking at the meeting. Okay.
Do we want part of that to go ahead and post those lesson plans? And on, wherever it is we post it?
Make it easier.
But many times, can I say, a lot of times though, when you're planning, that you try to do that plan way, but if you fill out this form and you're trying to do your lesson plan form, sometimes you don't quite finish that lesson plan.
What do you mean? The next type, sometimes we reverse it, like what are the type of the plans, what are the filling out the form?
Yeah, but sometimes we get a little more specific in our plans than you do.
So how much time do you think you need before it needs to be?
We always post them by Monday afternoon, that's what it says in our handbook. So we have
So just stick, just make sure it's posted by Dennis.
Co-teacher perspective. I have like, and myself and Patricia, we have like 3 or 4 different classes, but I might see 4 different lesson plan forms, the formats. Is there any way we can get it more standardized for it? Because, different people use different templates.
Well, with you all, I thought y'all were doing teacher 1, teacher 2.
Yeah, we are, but I'm saying the template itself, the lesson plan, because we are different teachers, different ones, there's no standardized template.
Yeah, it is. It's one standardized template. Are we using a different template? No. Yeah, but we
Look at this here, they should all, we've used the same one for like 5 years.
It's a little different because when we switched lesson plan formats a couple of years ago, you gave teachers the option of using the old one or going to the new one. So there are 2 different templates out there.
Yeah, well, we got 2. So they're using one or the other. Am I missing what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to say more than one.
Okay. So what are you saying?
I'm just saying, some teachers use this one, some teachers, I didn't know it was like a choice.
Well, Dr. Ray gave them that choice because we changed it and tried to make it a little simpler. The first form had things like HOTS, differentiation, vocabulary, so we switched from putting all that at the top to not having to do that, but then he gave teachers the option. If you want to keep that part on there, keep it on there. If you want to go to the simplified version, do that.
All right, anything else?
Best thing you do.
Let's play. About to hear that.
All right.
What's up?
I'm gonna say this is a joint effort. So this gives you an opportunity to speak at words. Because once we finish this, these are the norms that we're gonna be held to. There's some up here that you. All right, these other things. Go ahead. IEP. That's right.
Yes. I don't know if any of you have had the privilege to visit Mr. Underwood or Terry Stevens or myself, IEP. Lately, we have 9 students that are participating in real engagement. It is student-led IEPs. It's where they come in and they actually lead the meeting. And next year, we will be 100%. Pre-K all the way to high school. Okay, this is state mandated. So for our IEPs, where are our norms that we need to establish?
You may have to walk them through this, because I know there's certain things.
Yes, there are certain things that we have to do. There's a checklist that we have to follow. Our times, we're doing 7:45 and 3:30, 3:45. That's what we established earlier in the year. We also established that all teachers are to attend if they are one of your students.
And if you can attend, please, you know, for like duty and stuff like that, you can just send an email out stating.
Prior to the meeting, we need to know the information ahead of time. So, you know, not after the fact. Because these IEPs are legal binding documents that can end up in the courtroom. Okay? That's the main thing.
Just a quick question, because I'm very interested. I know we've all been in attendance for an IEP, but how are the student-led ones going? I'm just curious about.
They're actually going pretty well.
They give like a guideline?
They have a guideline, and they could get up and they could do a skit. They, more severe, they just kind of introduce themselves, their parents, their teachers, and I like this out of school, I don't like this about school. So it's actually, Mr. Stevens had 2 that had done PowerPoints.
That were really, really, I mean, I was at one of them, and it was, I thought the young man did a really good job, and you
They've
learned a
been
little bit
very
about him as
impressive,
you
they
did
really
that.
have. But the thing is that we've got to remember, is we don't want to get stuck that everybody does a PowerPoint. It's got to be varied. It really has turned out to be a good thing. And it lets them take a little responsibility, a little ownership.
Well, because they participate, and a lot of times it's the adults doing all the talking, so it's good that they initiate this.
Now, with IEP meetings at the high school level, grade on, the student is required to be there when we talk about transition plans. But the parent does not have to be there. So that's one thing. The student has to be there one time.
So number 1 would be on time, whether it's 7:45 or 3:45.
Right.
And then 2 through 7 should be the same, don't you think, from the faculty meetings? 2 through 7 are the same.
It's going to be 7:45. Now, I have these subjects from 3:30 and some for 3:45. There
It was 7:25, it was 3:45.
Now, another thing that we talked about is when we schedule IEP meetings, we send out the notice 10 days prior, and then we try to send a reminder of 1 to 2 days before, to just another reminder. But we have to mail it out to the parents 10 days before.
And then 2 through 7 from the faculty meeting. And then somebody said something about make sure you're bringing your stuff. Like
Yes, bring your
grades,
information, bring your
grades,
data notebook.
behavior.
Remember, we want to be positive. And the biggest thing with these IEP meetings, I've seen a lot of people come in and just kind of sit back and go with the flow, but if you have some to contribute, please speak up, because you're speaking for these students and what they need. And they shouldn't all be cookie cutter. Every student should get the same modifications and accommodations.
How can we handle a situation, and I'm gonna talk about the little in parent conferences. How can we handle a situation, kind of like we're doing here, where if I've said this about Jimmy, and then I go to the next teacher, so that teacher don't have to repeat the same thing that I said? Isn't there a way to say, well, some of the things that she said I'm having problems with in addition to? And then, because right now in Five Unions, what happened is we'll get to not everyone, but some of us will get to repeating, especially when it comes to discipline. We'll get to repeating the same thing, and I see sometimes it'll prolong, that meeting because all of us are basically repeating the same thing.
Just when you start your spiel, to say, as Ms. Jackson said, I had some of the same issues.
Right.
But also have blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But if you say we have nothing to add, say, well, better what Ms. Jackson said.
Right. I mean, would that help? I don't know how to word that. Repeat remarks, or I don't know how to word it.
Limit repetitive remarks. Yeah.
Only add new points.
Yes.
And then, of course, if a parent wants you to be a little more specific, then you can do that. But just in the meeting to make it go a little bit faster.
Just don't be repetitious.
Right.
But with the student-led IEPs that you're gonna start seeing all next year, they're gonna come in, basically do the introductions, and just like I was saying, but also, we'll be here to kind of guide them and make sure it runs smooth and we cover all the issues that we have to address and kind of keep people on task so that they don't start to ramble and make it long-winded, because IEPs can be kind of long.
The only thing was informing y'all if we can't be there. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
Informing you
that's
promptly,
kind of
not the day of.
And most of you have been really good about sending me an email, I can't be there, or just leaving their grades in my box and just a quick note about how they're doing. And we do address those if we have them in the meeting. We do take the minutes. And then lastly, we ask the parents for any concerns. I do try to go ahead and dismiss the teachers once we've taken care of the issues that we have to. But at the end, it's actually kind of a little voting process where everybody has to participate, yes or no, I agree or disagree. So once that's done, then we can dismiss and talk about other issues with the parent and the student.
Can we put that y'all will send us a reminder on the norms? Because I know I just got to, and it's for 2 weeks, and I'm just like, okay. So for 2 weeks, I'm gonna be like, okay, don't forget. Okay,
Now, what we do, and I'm glad, what we do on every agenda, we'll post norms on. So if we send out a PLC agenda, somewhere the norms will be posted. Or when you go in the PLC room, the norms will be posted. So we can do it that
No,
way.
I mean, for them to send us a reminder of the IEP.
Oh,
Could
I
that
thought you
be a
said
norm?
norms.
No, could that be it? Could that
She's
be
talking
part
about
of
the
it?
day before or the day before.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I misunderstood. Okay.
You guys can remind me, Tricia or Susan, somebody, you can pretty good at sending one the day before.
I need a doctor.
Or remind them, they're pretty good. Yeah, we'll make that.
Pops up.
You teach me how I'm doing. Show me how.
And so, and what it does, when you turn your computer on, it just pops up.
If she sends it to me like that, it'll automatically go over there.
Mine popped up, I have no idea how it got in there. It pops up sometimes, and I don't know how to get it out of there, so I'm still struggling. I know what you're talking about, because I be struggling with that.
You're talking about bringing materials and down there, but another good thing is if you have concerns about the students, you might want to go ahead and write that down ahead of time. That will eliminate some of the extra time. So there's the teachers that come.
The teachers that make
You then you have to sit there and think about, now, what is it that this kid's doing and not doing? Spring
And just
Spring
kind of
some
remember, it
weaknesses.
is an IEP meeting, not necessarily a conference. We can schedule that later in the meeting. Any other concerns? I know IEPs are favored on everybody's list. But we have about 50 a year. I think we have 51 students right now. And everyone has to have one within every 365 days. So they have to be scheduled in, Virginia sends us a list
break, 5-10 minutes himself to me, and that's why we made an adjustment. That's where the 30 minutes in the morning came from, because of his feedback to me. I'm the most approachable person in this building, and y'all know it. It doesn't matter. I know principle is automatic divide, and I understand that. But if you got an issue, please, I'd rather you come to me. It could be anything. You disagree with something, just come talk to me, and I'll tell you why it is. And sometimes when y'all leave out, it starts my wheels to turn. But if I don't know about it, and I don't know that it's causing you problems, then I'd much rather you come talk to me than be upset when you come to work, okay? So what I like to do is just come up with things that we must do to stay professional, and things that the norms to keep this environment professional, okay?
You ain't got nothing nice to say, keep your mouth shut.
Can you
I think there's a difference in, I'm joking, but I think there's a difference in, it can easily be seen as complaining when you're passionate about something and want to make a positive change, but there's a big difference when you say, I don't want to come here, or I wish I didn't have to do that, you know, and people don't want to hear that.
Right.
And it's different if you want to vent to somebody about improving something.
Right.
Just make sure that that's what's coming out of your mouth instead of putting other people in.
Well, how do we word that?
Stay positive.
Stay positive.
Stay positive, no negativity.
No
negativity.
Positive and constructive, number 5.
Okay. Number 5, okay. Number 5, yes, sir.
You need to be glad you got a job.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you can write this down or not, but I'm gonna try to explain this briefly. Bureaucracy is not flattering. I think that what happens, and I've done this long enough to know, is that what comes down from the state is counterproductive. What we see it as is punishment, or as you're not doing your job right. And it's constant. It's constant. I leave here hoarse knowing that my students like me and I'm doing the best I can, and I'm in the room with them, and people in Atlanta are not, and people in Washington are not. And they're telling me to do it this way and this way and this way, and they keep changing their mind because they keep changing administration and faculty, and they keep wanting to put their name on something they have no idea about. And I have to keep that in perspective, because when I leave a meeting of PLC, I feel like you're telling me no matter what I do, it's not right. And I know how to do it better than they do. And you have to, and I keep in mind that bureaucracy is what it is, which is, it is a gigantic wheel that doesn't move. So I keep that in mind. This is somebody saying something to me who has no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to down them, but I'm just speaking, you know, and that is where a great deal of negativity comes from. You're telling me that I can't do it, and I'm the one who leaves tired, and I'm the one whose blood pressure's high. You don't tell me how I can and can't do it. So I just have to remember that bureaucracy is not flattering, and just keep that in mind. And once I think about that, I let it go. And because tomorrow I'm going to go in my first period class, and they're all going to look at me, and I know exactly what I've got to do regardless of what's wrong. So you just got to keep that in mind. I try to stay positive with one another.
You got to focus on what you can control.
Yeah. And if you can't control it, you can't control it. The wheel is too big. It can't be done. You can complain about it all you want, but you just got to let it go and do the best you can every day. Because at the end of the day, I'm trying to make 150 people as productive as they can in society. I want them to pay taxes and pay into the system rather than suck off of it. And there's nothing else to it than that. So you can say whatever
Focus on what you can control. 3-foot world, you know.
Just stay focused on what we can control. Now, in order to make what Mr. Potts said a little bit better, I know for me, when the superintendent, you know, tells me to do something or something like that, it helps me to say, well, where did that decision come from? Now, I may not like it, but at least I do have a broader understanding. Now, you said it earlier, a lot of it depends on the administration that's here, the department, but we know that, okay? So what we have to make the decision, I say we, because I'm including this too, what we have to make the decision is when we're tired of it and want to do something else. But if we're going to stay in it, then we understand that that's just part, and it's going to change. Standards going to change. There's all of this. I mean, think of how many changes, those of us that's been here 30 years, how many changes we've seen, and less than that, how many changes we've seen. But that's part of it. And the biggest thing that causes anxiety and a feeling of overwhelmness is trying to worry about stuff that you have no control over. I mean, that will make you feel overwhelmed and anxiety. So with me personally, when they start, I'll give you an example. I was in a meeting, they were talking about one day, ultimately, we're gonna have to go to bring your own electronics. And I raised my hand, I said, when we do that, I'm going to the house. And I mean that.
You talking about the students or the faculty?
Students. Y'all bring your own anyway. I'm talking about the students.
Yeah, like an iPhone or.
Bring your own electronics.
I've been on the school system.
Yeah, now unless I have a paradigm shift, but when I'm told that, I'm gonna announce it, y'all, and I'm going to the house. Because that's one thing I am just not ready to deal with our demographics from a discipline standpoint. You're talking about a mess? So I made that clear. I promise you I did. I said, when we do that, I'm going home. Because that's just something that I'm not. But anything else, as far as what comes down, teats, leaks, whatever, if I'm gonna stay here, I'm gonna adjust. Okay, anything else to keep it? We got positive, constructive comments, stay focused on things that we can't control. Anything else?
The number one thing that I always try and do, this is something my dad ingrained in me, is if I'm unhappy with something that someone has said or done, I go directly to that person and address it with them right away, as respectfully as possible, rather than saying anything to them.
And especially in the coaching thing, I talk to many coaches, they say, how do you and your football coach get together? And I tell them, I said, me and Joe, we just have a great relationship. We understand that, and even Coach May, we understand that we share athletes. And we can't be like, you know what, you guys go play basketball, you guys go play football. We're a successful program because we're all in it together. You know, we got everybody's best interest at hand. And, you know, we got to learn to work together. You know, I mean, we just have to learn to work together. This is our job, this is the community that we're in. And for those of you who have never left Washington County, this is one of the best places it is. I mean, I've been other places, and this is a wonderful, and the things we're going through about the teats and leaks and that stuff there, and that's as hard as it is, we got it good, y'all. I mean, I've been in Burke County, I've been in South Carolina, and those places there weren't great, you know, and it's gonna take the army to get me out of here, you know. But us just staying together, guys, we got to stay together, you know. I mean, it's just, I mean, if we're gonna be successful, we are, you know. But also, we can't be bullying each other on Facebook, you know. A lot of us here are real good friends with the students and stuff here. These kids ain't our friends. They were, I'm telling you, they would turn on you like no other. You know, and what you can't do now, you can't throw your colleague on the bus. You know, we definitely can't throw our administrators. And Coach Brady, I'm saying here, and I tell other people here, what I like about him most, he allows us to coach AJ. You know, I mean, it's not like, that's my son here. He allows us to coach OJ, and I get on his butt just like anybody else, you know? And I haven't had to be in the office because of that, you know? But he allows us to teach. He allows us to be successful. And I mean, y'all, it's some bad places here, you know, within the counties, within this area here. It could be a lot worse here. But we definitely got to stay together. We got to have one another's back. And we do that, we're definitely all going to be successful.
Because the important thing that you mentioned is because we have like norms the relationship you all have as a coaches, because from the administration down, that's gonna be the accepted practice.
Yes, sir.
We are gonna work together, we are gonna share athletes.
Yeah.
We're not gonna have these, these differences, because it's an established practice and policy.
And one more,
that you are part of.
yes, sir. And I think we can never put a kid where they got to make a decision. You know what I'm saying? Where you either come here or do that here. I think that's just, we can't do that. We're not that school to do that. We got 600-700 kids. We have to share kids, and we got to work together.
Okay, so how do we?
So I got
Yeah, one team, work together.
I'm sorry, y'all. My bad.
Feel better.
Yeah, I do. I think I'm awake now. I sleep.
And one thing, hold on, coach, is where's the ministers at here? Even the Bible says if you had aught against your brother, evangelist, if you have aught against your brother, you go to them.
Yes.
And you see if you can, I think that's along the lines that your father said. Respectfully, if you think it's a situation where it's gonna go pretty bad, then get one of us to mediate. But if you have an issue, go to that person.
You said, come to you and ask you, but I'm just talking about the coaching perspective. I don't feel like you always have time to explain everything. So at what point, and we've talked about this, it's our job, it's what I've been told to do. So at what point do we, have to have everything explained to us while we're doing what we're doing?
And to be honest with you, I don't really get, I'm just putting that out there, that if you need clarification, I don't mind giving it to you.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah,
Some things I think, okay, this is.
Well, and it could be just a simple answer is that's what we were told to do. It could be that simple. But that's one of the reasons we do teach, keeps, and tweaks. That's one of the reasons we do that. Is that gives me an opportunity to, whatever y'all concerns are, it gives me an opportunity to explain, why we do it. And if things that I can't do away with, I think you all realize that I will do away with it.
But the decision you make, like if I make a decision and I know in my heart I made the best decision for that situation, I'm willing to go to bat for mine.
Right.
You can't be, you make a decision and then you back off of it. Stand behind your decision. If you know that's in the best interest of your student or your player or whoever, I go to the end with mine because I know in my heart I made that decision what's best for that kid.
Well, as far as coaching is concerned, my only rule is whatever you do, be able to justify it, if questioned about it. That's all.
But at the same time, I don't say that much for good reason, but we sit up here all day and we talk about what we do, what we don't do, and we don't practice it. We'll sit up here all day. Yeah, I speak to whoever. We don't.
That's why we're doing this.
Right.
Because we're going to identify the issues, and then from this point on, if it continues, then it'll be addressed. It'll be addressed through one of the administrators, also to be addressed in your professional evaluation.
Can we avoid shotgun emails though when we address it?
Oh, no, I deal with people individually.
Okay.
I'm not going to send out email. The only time I send out an email for everybody is when it's meant for everybody. Now, y'all know me by now. I'm not going to hide behind no emails. If there's an issue, I'm going to call you. So if I hadn't called you, you're doing great.
One of the things that I find that is very frustrating to me, that works on my morale,
yes, ma'am,
is I am very protective of my instructional time.
Right.
If you come by my door, I am working my butt off, and my children, I'm trying to get them to work their butt off for the whole 50 minutes.
Right.
I'm supposed to be doing my focus and my work session and my clothing, and there is nothing more aggravating to me than the phone to be ringing, somebody coming to my door. I need my 50 minutes. I'm not going to be where I'm supposed to be when I get time on April the 30th.
Right.
I need all of my 50 minutes.
Right.
And I get very frustrated when they get taken from me.
Right.
Nothing worse than starting my focus, the telephone ring. Starting going over my homework, the telephone ring.
Right.
I knock on the door. Can I see these children?
Right.
I want my 50 minutes.
Right. And if y'all can think of a way to not do that.
It ain't a perfect world.
Yeah, and
I'm with you,
and listen,
I'm with you.
I understand exactly what you're saying and everything, but
I know there's some things we have no control, but I
Right.
think there are some things we do have control over,
Okay.
and we are not mindful of that fact.
okay, now, are you willing to do it now, or that'll mean you conversation?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I know that one thing we could do,
Okay,
if you have something you know, and I know, like, I'm not even talking about discipline issue, because that is not my problem, because I thank God I'm right there. But you know, so-and-so, 7th period, so-and-so got to be a car rider today. So-and-so needs to come by the office and get the keys. So-and-so, needs to ride bus to PTA. I mean, all 7th hour, I'm being a secretary,
right.
and I need to be teaching now.
But what happens, but how do we, if we have a parent that calls and a situation changes?
Can't we do that 5 minutes before, or 5 minutes at the beginning, 5 minutes at the end? Does it have to be consistently all throughout?
So you saying do it at a certain time?
If I'm answering
You
the phone.
could have a little, you know, where Ms. Walker has something to, you know, where she jots it down and puts it up on her desk, and then in, either, you know, carry it over or call right there in that last 5 minutes.
Oh, if you want to talk to me, ring my bell. You know, I don't have to go to my phone. If you'll just on the on-call say, Miss Ferry, so-and-so needs to ride the bus.
That is.
You know, that is so much quicker than answering the telephone.
Now, the issue is, remember we talked about, we got some that prefer the phone, and we got some that prefer the intercom.
I'll be across the room teaching, and I kid you not, 5 or 6 times a day. 7th period, 6th period, I'll be all the way across, and then I got to go all the way across the room the extra things, and I'll meander my way back over there, and then it'll happen again 5 times.
So what I'm hearing you say is intercom. Intercom.
That's school business though, ain't it? That's school business, because the 10 kids need to get signed out. She can't write down in 5 minutes, she can't say, well, the bell's gonna.
Well, what we can do is just do it towards the end of the period and gauge how long it is.
Overwhelm if
That still depends on who it is, because see, Ms. Parker doesn't have that on her side, only Ms. Mason has the intercom, and if Ms. Mason for some reason is here, see, Ms. Parker can only call you on the phone, but she doesn't have the intercom. So sometimes it's Ms. Parker, and all she can do is call you on the phone. Because they haven't done the intercom for her, so she doesn't have that. So sometimes it just depends, and Ms. Moore doesn't have access to intercom. All she can do is call.
So what I'm hearing, y'all, the biggest problem is at the end of the day, 7th period. And if it's some kind of communication, you have those artifacts. Because just shoving that grade book across there ain't gonna get it. You make sure you have all your artifacts, especially if they're felony class, okay? So just please bring that stuff. Now, let's see. All right, end of the year summative evaluations. I just want to kind of tell you what that's based on. It's based on your walkthroughs and your formative assessments. And students did a teacher survey, and they looked at standards 3, 4, 7, and 8. And what we have to do, if for some reason what the students are saying and how we evaluated you, if it doesn't match, then we have to put an explanation in there as to why it did not match. Because what they're saying is the students are with you 180 days. So when they do that survey, they're with you, they know. So for example, if I give you, if students say, oh, he or she is wonderful, and then on my walkthroughs, I'm saying it ain't happening, then we have to explain why there's a discrepancy, and also vice versa. We have a point thing, y'all saw all that in PLCs of how that goes, and then we also would do a summative conference with you. Please, if you've done your formative 2, go in and sign off. Those if you've already done them, you need to go in there and sign off on them today. You have to put a date when you go to when you open up your electronic platform and you go into your formative 2 tab, there's a little calendar and you have to put a date in there when it was done. And that's when it'll give you the accept button. And you just click on the accept button. Okay, so we can do that today if you haven't already. I've talked, Coach May is going to talk to you a little bit about just remind you about the 9-week impact check and counseling session. Yeah, I'm good. Go ahead.
Just a reminder with our 9 weeks counseling session that we had, section summaries are due. Usually Ms. Harden does a great job of sending out an email with a deadline. Make sure we get those in by that deadline. And then when we have our conferences, bring your data notebook and bring your parent contact log to those. And then, of course, we go over attendance, your sign-ins, so make sure we're signing in every morning. A lot of y'all do a great job of emailing. If the time tracks is down, just shoot us an email, or either, a lot of times Ms. Smith has a sign-in sheet and she'll get us a copy of that. Just a reminder, a minimum of 10 daily grades and 3 tests. Sometimes we may fall a little short of that, and the reason for that is we need to be able to explain to parents, we don't need 1 test grade and 3 daily grades and their kids failing, and they haven't had a chance to bring that grade up where it should be. That's about it as far as 9 weeks counseling that I have. There is a little change in the schedule for today. At 1:30, instead of meeting as a whole faculty for our SACS, faculty and staff stakeholder meeting, I just need to meet with the standard facilitators. And if your facilitator is out, then I need to meet with the vice chair, I guess, or vice facilitator during that time. It'll be probably about a 30, 45-minute meeting. And then you'll actually go back and meet as a team after that at 2:30. And I'll explain to you what will happen then, and you can explain to your people on that.
Do y'all have a box in y'all side with, an old discipline office y'all used to have with, if you weren't in your office at the time, we could put the section summary reports in that box?
Just give them to Ms. Walker.
Give them to Ms. Walker and she'll put them on, and a lot of times I'll go in there and I'll have them on my desk. And she's either put them in there or let you in there to put them in.
Okay.
Or you can put them, always put them in our box.
Yeah.
Our mailbox.
Sorry, you want to talk about mid-year?
Yes. Ms. Hart, can I clarify something? For that SACS meeting, it's standard 1 is Ms. Doolittle, standard 2 is Ms. Williams, standard 3 is Ms. Severance, standard 4 is Ms. Williford, standard 5 is Ms. McCaskill. That's who I have down as the facilitator for each standard. And then I also need Ms. Ingram and Ms. Brantley in that meeting.
Ms. Hart, if you have seen our data notebook and our formative assessment, we will bring them in.
Let's, on the
For our
9-week,
quarterly counseling session.
let's
For
do
the
this.
third 9 week counseling? Yes, ma'am.
Let's do this. Let's for the third 9-week counseling session, let's eliminate the data notebook. Okay. Until we get this other one in the process. So you want to.
So we will get it. Okay, for your mid-year teacher conferences, there's a handout that's coming around. And your mid-year conferences will be held individually, just like we did this past year. We usually will hold those sometime between November and January. We have to have those after we've done your first 2 walkthroughs and your first formative evaluation. And at the bottom of that handout, those are the questions that we'll go through when we have that evaluation with you. And you do have to sign off on your mid-year conference. You go in and sign off on the TLE platform, and then we sign off as well. And most of those questions should be answered again with your data notebook. And Coach just went through streamlining process And more than likely, we're gonna use that for next year as well. So that way we'll be able to answer those questions. We should be able to go through the student growth with you. For the students, we'll have that information, hopefully by the time we have that video conference. That way you have had a chance to go through and look through the, that longitudinal data with the new students that you have for next year. So we'll have gone through that, and we'll go through all of that information, those questions at the bottom, and then you go in and sign off just like we did last year. But we have to do those mid-year conferences after we do that those first two walkthroughs and that first formative evaluation. That's when we'll do those. And we do them individually. We can do them as a faculty, but we like to do them individually so we can talk with you about your individual student. Does anybody have any questions? And I just gave you that handout so that you'll know the questions that we'll be talking to you about. Again, make sure you have your data notebooks. And usually I think that's the only thing you'll need to have for that, because we've already checked everything else when you come in and done the evaluation. So the main thing you'll need will give you that data notebook, just make sure it's
That mid-year conference, as you all know, that's just refresh. We've already done that. And then on our 9-week council, we still have to do it for this 9 weeks, but we won't worry about the data notebook. And then we've already talked about Hawk Time, so we did. And we'll do the passes. The passes, we have the new passes. They have them by name. Mr. Bates will pass them out. Thank y'all for using that system. I think it's still going very well. So make sure we continue using it. I think one of the issues is what to do with the old passes. If what I would like for you to do is just take them out and file them away. And I'll be telling you, these passes did come in handy, is in another conference where a student had, we were talking about a student's grades or something like that, and the parent, we were talking about targets or something like that, and we talked about our pass system, and we were able to, basically pull that student's passes in that class, and it showed the parents where that student signed the pass and showed the parent that student's passes. I'm telling you what, it took away all arguments. I mean, it wasn't, because it's in their handwriting, they dated, they put the time on it. Of course, we just sign off on it. So with your old passes, if you'll file them away, if you have any extras, please don't leave them laying around. We had one young man, he was going into the pass business. I don't know what he was doing with them, but early on, he was going in the pass business. So don't leave any extras laying around. Put them away if you would, please.